Today, there's so much in our lives that influences us, our environment, the people around us. Sometimes we don't even know what's influencing us, and that's what we're here to talk about. Welcome to the Influence Today podcast with Chet Tart and Terry Lyle.
Influence Today with Chet Tart and Terry Lyles. We're back to part two. We were talking with John Provost about how the TV show Lassie influenced people and how Hollywood became a little bit different. We're broadcasting from Venture X. It's on PGA Boulevard in Palm Beach Gardens. And if you're looking for a place to hang your hat, some businesses, this is the place to be. And also, if you like the show, please hit the word like. And please share it. And also, we're looking for your comments, right, Terry?
Absolutely.
We do need comments. We've been talking with John Provost. I thought we'd get a little bit behind the scenes and give us some fun stuff to talk about when you were on the set of these movies and Lassie. One of the things that I always look forward in all these TV shows or movies are bloopers. Did you have any that you can remember? Or did you cause any?
It's really unfortunate, but we didn't save any. I don't know why, but they didn't save any bloopers. So unfortunately, no, we don't. A lot of stuff happened, but no, we didn't keep any.
Well, tell us a couple, because that's what we're going to save them now, and this is called the internet world, so we're going to put them out there for you.
All right. Well, okay. Now
I knew you would remember one.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a stretch. All right. So you're going to have to use your imagination.
Okay.
Of course.
And I want the listeners to really use their imagination. Okay. Now, we all know that the character of Lassie is a female, but all the Lassies were males and still are. So from the very first movie, Lassie Come Home with Roddy McDowall and Elizabeth Taylor from 1943, until the present, every Lassie's a male. Well, collies have long hair, so that usually isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Well, one time Lassie got a rash, and Lassie lost all his hair around his privates.
Right.
So now we had a visible dog, right? Well, this is so bizarre. Does the name Max Factor ring a bell?
Oh,
of course.
Yeah.
Okay. The number one makeup artist.
Of course.
Invented the line of makeup. Anyway, they call Max Factor up. Max Factor makes a wig for Lassie.
Wow.
That's
to
pretty
cover
good.
Lassie's parts. So,
That's pretty good.
that's pretty top drawer, right?
Who knew there were gender issues with Lassie in the 50s?
There you go.
Come on.
Well, and here's another thing. Most people, don't realize that, all the Lassies were males.
No.
And every year we would have an episode where Lassie would have puppies. And so they would have this, male dog laying there with a half a dozen puppies stretched out across his belly, and he would just lay there. Okay, fine. When this is done, then I can move on, because the dogs were so incredibly trained.
You can't even move on from that for a minute, because I'm still traumatized a little bit, because it's so common. You said visualize this, so I just got the whole. So I'm listening to you say this, and I'm thinking current world today. Okay,
right.
With all the things that go on in the gender spectrum of the world today, I think it's fascinating that they found a male dog to play a female part. Now, so I don't know. That's probably a whole nother section we can do psychologically, maybe another day. But I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, okay, guys, you ready? There was a reason for that.
I was going to ask you. Yeah,
there had to be.
Yeah, of course. Well, I realize that. And now, I hope the women in the audience don't take offense to this. And I did not say this. Red Weatherwax said it. He said the males were smarter and they were easier to train. And then, the easier to train part, I think that probably fits, but Don't know about this.
It's called marriage.
Yeah, thanks, Chet.
Yeah.
But don't know about the smarter part. Then the other thing was the males were larger, more colorful, more heroic. So,
Right.
you know, that. Well, then the other reason Rudd told me was, Rudd Weatherwax, the owner-trainer, was that, and this is true, when the females come into season, they lose their coat, and they don't want to work. Well, we're filming, you know, TV and movies, and, you know, you got to work. So those were some of the reasons.
There's a psychology behind everything, even in the 50s. You know,
Right,
this is what's fascinating to us as we talk about influence today and what influences culture and us and all the above. I mean, it's very interesting, and I think, you know, for people to listen to this, I mean, like you said, there's no bloopers, so we just created a couple here that were real to life.
Where did you shoot this show? Where was it?
Well, we filmed in Hollywood. We filmed in the old RKO studios, which I made about 4 movies at before Lassie. And then that RKO, Howard Hughes, sold the studio to Lucy and Desi. And then it became Desi Lou. So on our lot, we filmed Lassie. Right next door was Ben Casey. You remember the Doctor series? And then next door to him in the other soundstage was The Untouchables, which I loved.
Sure.
That was great. And then at the other end of the studio, they filmed My Three Sons, The Lucy Show, and you know, about a half a dozen of. They would be filming a movie here and there and doing different things, but that's where we filmed. We filmed there for 6 years. The first year we filmed at an older studio, KTLA, which is gone now, but. And then we did all of our location work out in the San Fernando Valley, because back in the early 60s and late 50s, there was a lot of open land and a lot of farms, and now it's a lot of condos and concrete.
Sure.
So when you were doing the show Lassie, you became very famous. People saw you. When you would walk, you said you lived in a normal neighborhood, and you would walk home. Did people recognize you if you went to the store? Or how was that?
All the time. Yeah, there was. You understand. People, they recognize you and they want to come up and say something or whatever, and we all understand that. But sometimes it does get a little invasive. When you're out to dinner, with your family, and you're sitting there and you're eating, and somebody comes over and they say, "Well, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you." Well, I'm sorry. Yes, you do mean to bother me.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of my dinner. Could you wait? Sometimes it got a little weird. One time, I was walking down the street, and this kid comes up behind me, and he hits me in the back. And I turn around and go, "Why'd you hit me for?" And he goes, "You're Timmy. You're not supposed to be here."
What?
You're not supposed. I'm not supposed to be. And it was, just walking down a street, a normal street. I wasn't even near my home. I was like just walking down a street. But people get that vision of you're
Sure.
in the TV, you're on that box,
right.
You're not real or something. So this little kid, he couldn't relate to me being a real person walking around. So it was but then again, you had nice people that didn't bother you, and or just were more appropriate.
Yeah, you took it. You kind of popped his bubble on the
reality
the
scale.
reality scale of dude, you're in the TV. Why are you walking around? You can't do that. I mean, it's like I don't understand the movie now.
Well, it just shows you that and especially when you're young. I mean, he was younger. I was probably about 11 or 12, and he was probably around 8 or 9. So
Right.
he couldn't relate. But I mean, that stuff happens. I mean,
Sure.
What about weirdos? I mean,
you have to go.
strange
I just
people.
want to tell. This is a crazy story.
Okay.
Paul Newman, fantastic actor,
Yeah.
an incredible person. He stopped signing autographs. I don't know, Chet, you may have heard this story. He stopped signing autographs when he was in a men's restroom,
Oh,
standing up, relieving himself, and somebody walked up, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Could I have your autograph?"
Ugh. I would have given him one.
Yeah.
Just turn
No,
around.
don't go there. Don't go there. Don't
Exactly.
Go there.
It's
But
like-
so that was the last time. He said, that was it. He said, "I'm never signing another autograph." So
Yeah.
that's just the extreme.
Right. Yeah, and I know it does. I mean, fame can be a tough thing. I mean, it looks glamorous on the outside, and then you get into it. It crashes a lot of people. Chet and I were talking about this before the show in another situation of an interview and conversation we're going to have. But it can destroy some people if you're not tempered with the right character, as you mentioned on the previous show, with the right values. It can destroy a person's life versus emboldening it and enhancing it. And yeah, I'm just glad you were able to kind of weather through that and figure it out with good parents and siblings that tried to understand. I'm sure, and that makes a difference.
Well, yeah, Terry, that's what I said on the previous show was that, it all boils down to family. Look,
Yeah.
I raised two kids. My kids are 35 and 33. And when I was on the soccer field, okay, I saw parents that were worse than any TV parent I had seen.
No question.
I mean, it's just, it doesn't matter, what industry or sports. I mean, it's the family, it's the parents, how you deal with that and impart that to your children. That's what it's all about. So,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter, what you're doing or you have to have that foundation.
So the two questions I have, maybe on the dark side. Did any weird people ever come by and try to do stuff? I mean, today it's like you're in Fort Knox being totally prepared.
Well, not only are you in Fort Knox, but everybody knows where you live. They can see pictures of your homes inside and out.
Live.
You cannot hide anymore. So forget hiding. That's not there at all. But the weird people. No, okay. Here's how different it was when fan mail. My mother would when the fan mail would come, it would come to the studio. When we'd pick it up every week, and there would be, hundreds and sometimes thousands of pieces of mail. Well, Mother would answer have friends answer all this fan mail, and she would put our home return address.
Yes, I remember.
We would have people show up on our doorstep. And she would invite people. Oh, here's our personal telephone number. Call when you're visiting LA. I mean, it was could you do that today? No way. But it was just.
No, it's just
and it was
today.
that
It's just
Southern
called
hospitality from my parents. They were very, very Southern.
Yeah, today it's just called have a cell carrier or somebody, and they already have your number. So, it is what it is. But you're right. I mean, and Chet and I were talking about this earlier as well. There's such a security issue today because there is so much, influence in the negative side of what athletes and performers and, famous people have to deal with. I mean, that could be a huge problem, and it's a threat ongoingly every day, even where you live and where you drive and where you shop and how you live your life.
Correct. And, yes, I mean, there were a few shady people, that would come around at, but they were weeded out pretty quickly. But as far as the percentages were much lower back then than they are today.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
I don't know what changed in the society. You were talking a little bit about your brothers and sisters. How did we all grow up with either liking our brothers and sisters or not liking them, being competitive?
I was the baby.
How did they deal with this?
Older, my sister is 4. Neither one was in the business, really. They did do a little bit, when I was on Lassie, if there was a school scene or a carnival or something. For the extras and especially for the children, they would hire children of the cast and crew. So sometimes my brother and sister would be in that. My brother didn't like it so much, so he moved on. My sister was a little more into it, and she pursued it up until the point. Do you remember the movie called Gidget?
Yes.
Yes.
It starred Sally Fields. Well, it was, I think, one of her first big things. Anyway, my sister was the runner-up for that part of Gidget, and when she lost that part to Sally Fields, she said, "That's it. I don't like the rejection. I'm done." And so that was, she was done with it. I was really the only one that moved on. There's always a little jealousy. The only thing that I can say about myself was, hey, I didn't choose what I did. I was thrust into this business at a very, very young age. It was not my decision. So, don't be mad at me. That's about it. You can't say much more than that.
No, but it still becomes gravity. And the important part is, life is full of ups and downs and storms and, tragedy and recovery and just all the things that go on. So, the good thing is like I say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I'm just glad you're able to, be able to laugh and tell stories. You had a great career. You still do. It sounds like you're doing what you want to do. And, that's a blessed thing to be able to enjoy your life that you have and that you had before.
Sure. And, Terry and Chad, all of us and your listeners, we all have hindsight. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would have maybe done this. I definitely would have done this differently. We all have that, but we don't just get wound up in it like, oh, gee, let that bring you down. No, we learn from that. And that's what I tell my kids. Hey, there's no such thing as a failure.
Right.
There really, you learn from.
It's learning.
Yeah, we make mistakes. There's bumps in the road. We maneuver around them, or we get better tires, or whatever. We figure it out, and we move on. And
so
that's about.
So what you don't know is that John and I have been friends for a long time, and and I do know that you met all the other cast kids as you grew up from all the other TV shows. And you became friends with them. So technically, instead of going to school, these were your classmates. All these guys in Patty Duke and the kids on My Three Sons. And I know that I met your other friend before he passed away, David Cassidy, who said you guys told me some great stories that we can't repeat. And and so technically, how did Hollywood affect these guys? Is everyone out and about and normal? Because we read stories where kids get screwed up with this stuff.
Oh, sure. Well, like I said before, it's so much of it has to do with your family. Look, like you said, I grew up with everybody, from that era. Jay North, who
that show followed you.
He had a horrible family, horrible childhood. So that totally affected his life.
That was Dennis the Menace.
Whether it would have happened had he not gotten that part, who knows? If he had been in another industry, who knows? From his family, he probably still would have been screwed up. But but no, I don't. And Jay, I love Jay. We're good friends, and he did. When I just said that he's fine with that. We're really close. But it's just you have to be grounded. I think that's it. It's like, you don't. I got my first car when I was 18. Okay, I bought my brother and sister their first cars. That was something my parents, they said, because you've been doing this and you've influenced their lives in different ways and taken things away from them, blah blah blah. Maybe you should buy them their first cars when they turned 16, and I did. As a young child, but I didn't get my parents wouldn't let me get my first car until I was 18. So I looked at other kids. I was going to school today. Well, no, that doesn't work. When I was going to Rexford, which was a private high school, because I couldn't go to public school because I was working. So, there were kids there that were 16 years old and were driving Ferraris. Well, and these kids were in the business. My parents said, no, my son's not getting so that has so much to do with it. I know I keep going back to that.
No, it's true,
But
though.
I really think that's what it's those values. My parents grew up in the Depression, so they had those values, and they imparted those values on their kids. I don't know. Did we mess up with our kids? I don't know.
We'll see. The next generation will tell us.
That's another. That's another podcast.
Yeah, we'll do
That
it.
that'll be our children's podcast talking about us. So until
I don't
then,
hear that one. I'm going to tune out that one.
right?
Hey, John, it's been a pleasure, and I'm glad you were back on again. It was pretty interesting to talk about
Thank
behind
you.
the scenes. You have met some incredible people. What he didn't say that you were on the Bob Hope show. You were on the. You met. What's his? I can't think of his name, but he's very famous. He had a great line. I can see him now. He's retired from the movies. He was just in a movie the other day. Oh,
you're killing me.
he's from Carmel, California. Does that help?
From Carmel.
He goes, "That's a
Clint
big
Eastwood.
place."
Yeah,
Clint Eastwood.
yeah,
Are you
thank
Clint
thinking
Eastwood,
Clint
okay.
Eastwood?
Okay, Dirty Harry, man. What?
Hey, I did him.
You're lucky I remember your name.
I did a movie, Escapade in Japan, with Clint Eastwood. He didn't even get billing in the movie, but I got star billing. How's that?
What?
Wow.
You did?
Wow. And how to find?
Well, it was way back. Yeah, it was back.
How do people find your book too? I want to make sure we mention that again
Yeah,
before
that's
we
good.
get
Oh,
off.
yeah. No, it's Timmy's in the Well, the John Provost story. And they can order it on Amazon. If
Okay.
they'd like to get a signed copy, they can just go to my website, johnprovost.com.
Or they
Nice.
go right up to your house and just knock on the door.
Exactly.
Hey, they could do. Hey, listen, that happens too. You can just Google Earth me. No, please don't. Never mind.
Exactly. We'll retract that.
But before,
Okay.
one more thing before you leave, you guys are okay. You had those massive fires in California. Did
Yes,
it very
2 years
close?
ago. We were evacuated twice, once for 6 days.
Wow.
But luckily our home was spared.
Nice.
Unfortunately, a lot of our neighbors weren't. So
Right.
Did they
it was,
rebuild yet?
We're rebuilding now,
Oh.
but it's a long road.
Right.
So the area must look totally different. Yeah.
It does. Oh yeah. No, it's people always ask, is everything back to normal? I say, well, not quite.
Right.
But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Nice.
So you had the fires, and we almost got hit with a Category 5.
I know. Well, but that seems to be kind of regular for you guys.
It is. We live on the horn of hurricane. We're like right in the eye of the tiger, and we choose to live here. So that tells you something about our madness.
Right. Well,
No, listen, it's not bad. It's not. I've visited there a few times. I've been
Yeah.
there, so I know.
Yeah.
so with California, we had earthquakes. Then I moved to the Midwest. We had tornadoes, and now I'm here, and we're having hurricanes. I
Well,
can't get.
okay,
I
I'm
can't-
not. I'm not going to tell. I will tell this story. Chet's. He's on the phone. He says, "John, there's a hurricane. I've never seen. A tornado. I've never seen one." He runs out in his backyard with his video camera.
That's right.
Yeah.
Videoing a hurricane, and his neighbor says, "What are you doing? Get in the basement."
Yep.
That's because you have to be taken away from one of those like up in the air before you figure out I shouldn't have been out there. So it is
Yeah,
what it is.
really. You can make another little movie riding your bicycle up in the tornado.
Yeah.
John, this has been fun. Thank you very much for being our guest.
Yes.
This has been.
Thanks, Chet.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Terry.
You're welcome.
This has been Influence Today. And if you like the show, please hit the word like and please hit the word share. And we are broadcasting from Venture X, PGA Boulevard, and Palm Beach Gardens. Thanks for listening.